This is an AI Napoleon Dynamite I meant infinite exploit, and the techniques and tutorials shared in this video are intended for educational purposes only. The content shared here is designed to increase awareness and knowledge in cybersecurity and should never be used for malicious intent or to cause harm. Always act responsibly and ethically.
So now we're going to go over the difference between a reverse shell and a bind shell. But before we get started, what is a shell? So a shell provides a command line interface to interact with systems. So this is technically a shell where we're at here. If I wanted to go to PowerShell, this is a shell. A lot of times you use Windows environments, you have PowerShell, so that's a shell, right? So with that being said, I can tell what kind of shell I have. One of the most commonly used shell in Linux is a bash shell, which is a born again shell. But I'm using a Z shell. It's similar to the bash shell, but it has different features like auto completion and customized features available. And I could print this out by doing that. That way you can see what type of shell I have. So I have C shell. Now, when it comes to reverse shells, that's basically where the victim connects back to the attacker. When it comes to bind shells, the victim opens a port and listens for the attacker's connections. So it's a lot of payloads that are available um, to deliver and execute a malicious code on the target system. So I'm going to give you an example here. Okay, so we'll demonstrate a reverse shell and then we'll demonstrate a bind shell. And I'll also go over some other techniques with you. So oftentimes, attacker will use netcat, which is a utility for reading from and writing to network connections with TCP or UDP. It also can be used for port scanning, file transfer, and just listening on ports as well. So I'll give you an example of that. So we'll do NC, that's the netcat command. I do this -V for verbose so I can see the output, L for listening, P for port, and you can do whatever port you want as long as it's an open or available port. So let's do 2222. So I'm listening on port 2222, right? So how does the attacker connect, right? So on a reverse shell, the attacker is listening, just waiting on the connection, and the target's going to execute code on their end, so that way you'll have that reverse shell. So I'm listening here, and on the attacker machine, I do netcat, and this is your local host. I can do localhost or 127.0.0.1, port 2222. All right, and doing -E. I want to bench. I want to do a shell. Okay, so it doesn't look like anything happened, but if I go back where I'm listening, it said I'm connected. So I can test it by doing who am I? Infinite export ls. I can do cat new.txt, right? And that's a demonstration of a reverse shell. Now, I want to show you something really cool before we talk about bind shells. You can go to the reverse shell cheat sheet from Swisky repo. Shout out to him or her, and it shows reverse shells depending on what you're running. So if you got a technology that's using Perl, Python, if you're using Ruby, Rust, OpenSSL, PowerShell, Java, they have different shells, um, and you can use these reverse shells. So you'll set up your listener the same way, but you would change. Of course, you would change like the IP to the IP that you'll be attacking, right? Or if you're listening, you want to change it. So, all right. So let me go ahead and kill this. Control C, and I'm going to show you a bind shell now. Okay. So it's pretty much the opposite. So I will go NC for netcat. I will go, since I'm doing it locally. Let's try another port. Let's do lucky sevens. We're lucky today. 777. But hey, I need to go ahead and have target listening, right? So I can do netcat 777. That's the target listening. And now I'm connecting. And you can see these commands, right? Where am I? LS, same thing. So I hope this was helpful in explaining what shells are in general, and yeah, and how attackers can use these. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.